Hello, I'm Brian Mallard. Join me as I traipse around the countryside. Life is a series of experiences that are filed away in layers. As new ones come, the stack gets deeper and the old memories fade into the dust. Such is the case with many small communities and towns. Such is the case with this small community. Few structures left standing serve as a monument to the lives that were lived here. As the marker states, Archery once had a train stop, houses for railroad employees, the St. Mark Methodist Church, a school for black youth, and a store. The community was named for the Sublime Order of Archery, a relief organization of the AME Church which assisted Southern black families. Archery was once home to 27 families, one of which was the Carters. Jimmy grew up here. His boyhood farm is still here, but that we will get to in a later segment. Archery, Georgia has too storied a history to do more than scratch the surface here. There is information available, but much of the soul is lost to time. The best stories lay waiting to be told by the few old-timers, if you can find them, who still remember. And I suggest trying, because in Archery, or anywhere, you can only find treasure. Just across the track rests the previous generations who took their memories with them. Their names slowly disappearing from the winds, the rains, and the passage of time. But this isn't a program on history or on archery, but rather a county. A county with a history and the remnants of the past that remain, and how one can experience it today. Roughly 4 miles down the road and into Sumter County lies the town of Plains. A short distance from its original location, in the 1800s the railroad came through in response to increased cotton farming, and the plains of Dura, Lebanon, and Magnolia Springs came together, thus forming what we know today as Plains, Georgia. Still largely agricultural, Plains specializes in a number of crops, but especially peanuts. It's a small but vibrant town with a number of businesses. One storekeeper told me he gets an average of 186,000 visitors a year. Driving around Plains, one of your options is the cell phone tour, which will take you to notable sites throughout the area, including Archery in neighboring Webster County. Or you can just drive through the neighborhoods and take in the beautiful houses and fields, as well as where Jimmy Carter, as of this production, lives. Not to be missed is the Plains High School. Built in 1921 and operating until 1979, it was reopened as a museum in 1996. Inside, friendly park rangers have a wealth of information and are ready to help you with any questions you may have. The school houses a ton of information covering Mr. Carter's entire life, from farm boy to U.S. President. This classroom is kept preserved from the earlier days of the school that both Jimmy and Rosalynn Carter graduated from. This exhibit shows in stark detail the educational technologies of the day. Throughout these halls is a printed visual and physical biography of our 39th president. If you visit, make sure to schedule plenty of time to browse. This video only touches on what this museum has to offer. Note this scene from the old days of archery, and there is a 20-minute film on the president who still calls this home. Plains, Georgia and Sumter County as a whole is one of my favorite travel destinations. It's a short drive from my home city of Columbus, and even if you aren't interested in presidential history, or maybe history at all, it's still a wonderful place to see agricultural land, blood-red dirt roads, and quiet from the bustle of the city. On the main road is Billy Carter Service Station. In 1954, Mill Jennings, owner and operator of Standard Oil Station, purchased this building from Thad Jones and moved it to its current site. Originally, the building served as a playhouse and dance studio for Jones' daughter. In 1972, Mill Jennings sold the station to Billy Carter, brother of President Jimmy Carter. In 1976, Bill Carter's station became an important landmark in the history of Plains when Billy's station became famous nationwide as journalists covering Jimmy Carter's presidential campaign made it their headquarters. In 2008, the Plains Better Hometown program acquired the building and opened it as the Billy Carter Museum. These buildings of the past have been revitalized for this current era. Today they house a store, a restaurant, an antique mall, and an inn, each one bearing a plaque denoting its original identity. These buildings have fared much better than many of their contemporaries. All across the South there are crumbling towns, but the heart of this town still beats. Plains may very well have gone the same way, but for the presence of one man. The old Carter Peanut Warehouse today is a store. Inside you can find everything from t-shirts to honey to ice cream, pork rinds and candies, peanut products, and bags of fresh raw peanuts. David Phillips of Sidestep Adventures.
I'm having me a nice chocolate ice cream cone in Plains, Georgia. They had peanut, but I decided to have chocolate today.
A few buildings down is the Buffalo Cafe, which has kept accents of the old structure whilst offering a great modern restaurant. Stacy and Michael arrived at nearly the same time. Michael is in higher education and art, and we caught up as we ate. I had the country fried steak sandwich, delicious. Michael had fried green beans and a chicken salad sandwich, and Stacy had a grilled cheese. As we ate, Sam Shortline rolled up and a lot of people came in. We were done, so we cleared out, and Mike pointed out extra seating accessible by this alley. I took this opportunity to get his thoughts. So Mike, what's it like living in a town where a former president lived and still lives, and what do you think he's done for this community?
Well, he's done a lot for the nation, for one thing.
Yeah.
And I think for Plains, he has given us viability that's going to keep us alive.
Right.
While we see the history of so many other small Georgia towns that are basically are falling apart.
Right.
And there's no activity, there's no commerce or anything. And we have it, and it's all because of Jimmy Carter becoming president, 39th president of the United States. And so I'm very thankful to be a part of a community that I know that my grandchildren can visit, and I know that their grandchildren can visit and go back and see where their great-great-great-great-grandparents lived and worked. And that's, for me, very satisfying.
And does it feel any different, like than it say any other town, knowing that there's an actual president of the United States that's a resident?
Well, it helps to keep us active. We have a lot of different organizations in town that are to help organize and keep things going, and the Rosalynn Carter Butterfly Trail. We have the gardens that are here. We have the Plains Historical Preservation Trust. We have other groups, the Friends of Jimmy Carter and so forth, and all of that keeps the activity going. So I don't live in a dead town.
You definitely do not live in a dead town.
Very active town. You know your neighbors, and your neighbors know you. And I live across the street for some distant cousins and things like that, which until I moved back to Plains, I never had before.
Right.
And so I have a real sense of place here, and that's very nice.
It is a beautiful town. When Carter ran for president, he made the depot his campaign headquarters. Today, it's a museum and a stopping point for Sam's short line. The old loading dock is a great place to sit and enjoy the day. Inside is an exhibit dedicated to Carter's campaign. It's also a great place to see an old train depot. This period TV shows campaign footage upon a floor that has seen the footsteps of many travelers. It's interesting to visualize that this was once the commercial hub of the local economy. This depot is smaller than the one in Americus, which is now gone. Still operational seems the loading door with its antique hardware. Not far are a couple of railroad buildings, whose use I know not. But look further and you'll find the remains of an old track, a track with a purpose long past. Here in Plains is the home of the Rosalynn Carter Butterfly Trail. Looking around, you'll find flowers planted to attract them. If you plant the right flowers, I've heard you can be registered as part of this project. The areas surrounding Archery and Plains have some beautiful and scenic countryside. Some of my favorite is the farmlands long overgrown and the dirt roads that interconnect them. Red clay roadsides, high embankments are a wonder to me. Enchanted places. Old homesteads lay silent, foreboding and welcoming, all at the same time. Rough paved roads rumble under the tires and offer quiet contemplation for the traveler who lingers. The air and atmosphere of the fields are sweet ones, and the oncoming thunderstorm will most likely be dramatic. And the farmers tend to business via old concrete that remembers way more than we ever will. And as it starts to rain, we'll close down this chapter of traipsing around, and we'll go further out and see you next time. I couldn't stop without saying a word about this Coke machine. It still works.
And it's ice cold.